Hello and welcome to the Sober Bartender podcast, the show where we recover from life. I'm your host, Brandy Kelly. Today is the last Sober Bartender podcast episode of the year. And also, the show will be um, rebranded at the beginning of the year. So, season 2 will be rolling into the next phase. So this is really, it's a bittersweet day. And so I wanted to just come on here and connect with you guys and I guess just, just express my gratitude and my, um, just, I don't know how to describe it really. It's been, it's been such a journey because, I thought like I started this podcast last year and it was a great way for me to connect. And I thought that I was sharing what I had learned, but in the process, I learned that I have so much to learn. Um, and I know that it hasn't been the most polished and it hasn't been the most consistent, but it's kept me consistent. Like you guys have kept me showing up and, kind of kept me on my toes because you know, this is something that I committed myself to, and I have to show up regardless of how I feel. I don't know if you can hear it, but today I have crazy, crazy sinus pressure. We got home from holiday travel yesterday, and so I did not have an episode prepared. It is not 5 a.m. It's coming out late. It's coming out nasally, but it's going to happen because this is such a big day for the podcast. There's a big part of me that doesn't want to transition, that doesn't want to end the Sober Bartender podcast. Um, but I also, I mean, it's not just it's not an impulsive decision to want to change. I've for years wanted to transition from bartending, and I feel like labeling myself as the sober bartender, it kind of keeps me in that realm, and to shift I would like to shift the focus of the podcast to where we're going instead of where we've been. And so I think initially I wanted to take lessons from the past and then bring them onto the show and then help other people learn from those lessons. And now I think the focus is to look at what is in front of us. Like, what do we have to learn? Like, what do I have to learn that we can learn together? Who can we bring onto the show that can not just share a relatable story, but bring something into our consciousness that wasn't there before? And it's really scary because it's outside my comfort zone, right? Like sharing my own experience is what I know how to do, but we don't grow in our comfort zone, and we discuss that often. Um, Also, I'm learning that this podcast has shown me how, it started out, it was going to be called Growth Opportunities, right? And it was where we see our challenges as opportunities to grow. But then I realized in looking back on this year of podcasting, on these 52 weeks of episodes, I've realized that I've been living in a fixed mindset. A lot of what I have done it's gone from helping to kind of proving myself and proving myself to myself, not necessarily to you, to my audience or my supporters, but proving to myself that I'm worthy or that I'm able, that I'm capable, that my experience has value. And I'm realizing now, that it's okay that I've had this fixed mindset and this desire to prove myself, but I'm ready to shift back into the growth mindset. I'm ready to um, be willing to be new at something and be willing to um, take each opportunity, each conversation as um, as something new, and then an opportunity to learn and kind of crack open a little bit. I was hoping when I I was hoping when I started this podcast that I would be a born natural, and that's also part of the fixed mindset, right? It's like I thought I would just hop on and start talking and it would just flow. And those of you that have been with me from the beginning, or even just have come along, it's definitely something that you grow into. And there's a lot of room for growth, and that's okay. But in my mind, if I wasn't able to just hop on and talk and know what I was talking about and not lose my train of thought and not say the words and like and and I'm realizing that none of that really matters. It's the message, and I feel like throughout the year the message ebbed and flowed because there were a lot of days where I had to force myself to sit down and figure out what to talk about. And in the beginning I had weeks recorded in advance. So anywho, just that's a, a little summary of where things are at. Um, I am so grateful. I in doing this podcast, I've had to really think, is this something that I want to continue? Because it is challenging, and absolutely yes, I want to continue. I want to continue to be challenged. I want to continue to grow, and I want to continue to share that with other people. So, despite the name changing, um, and despite the direction changing, it's still just our evolution. Um, it's still just it's growing into ourselves and living into, a new way of thinking and living. But you guys that have been here and that have stuck with me and that have offered support and questions, I am so grateful for you. And the people that are just now showing up, I'm so glad you're here. And I am excited for what is on the way. So definitely stay tuned because it's going to be interesting and it's not going to be perfect. So let me warn you in advance. It's still a year is a long time, but it's also not that long. So there's still a lot of room for growth on this show, in myself, in the content, and in yeah, in where we're going. Um, so yeah, I've talked about the evolution of the show. It started out with these stories of recovery and just from of people overcoming. There have been a lot of guests that aren't even in recovery, that that aren't suffering from alcohol or drug abuse. They're just people that have had challenges in life and that have made choices and have overcome that. And I felt like it was important to share those things as well, because we feel like only other people suffering with what we're suffering from will get us. And it's absolutely not the case. Like, we're all rowing a boat here. We're all facing these challenges. And I feel like it was a great experience to get to bring those stories along with the stories of recovery. I feel like people in recovery, we hear like in speaker meetings or just, in identifying with other addicts, alcoholics, people suffering from alcohol abuse disorder, we hear these train wreck stories, and we're not really shocked by them because we've all had these low lows and these roller coaster lives. And while I feel like that's really valuable, I feel like we need to take the energy out of those experiences. We need to stop reliving those experiences and take the energy give the energy to the actual transformation. So take it out of the low and just put it into like the glow up and the glow forward. Like, where are we going and where are we glowing? So while where we've been is important, that's not where our focus is going to be anymore. Our focus is going to be on setting our intentions and on turning our thoughts into actionable steps. So, defining what it is that we want, who it is we want to be, and what it actually takes to get there. And this doesn't have to be a next week, a next month, but what we're doing today is setting us up for our future. So, where are we going? Where do we want to end up? Because what I choose to do today is a pretty good indicator of where I'm going to be in 6 months, where I'm going to be in a year. Like, if I had chose to not get this episode out, there's a good chance that 6 months from now, this podcast would not still be here. Because the minute that you start deciding that it's not important or you can let this one slide, it's a slippery slope. And I don't want to go down that slope. So, some key moments and episodes that have defined the podcast, I do want to share. Um, my sober story, excuse me, my sober story, where I was still in 12-step recovery when I shared my sober story. So I would like to almost go back and listen to it because I feel like I see it through a different lens. But that got played the most. That got played, I think it was 600% more than every other episode, which is nuts. Um, and I feel like it was powerful. I feel like it had a lot of impact, and I'm glad that that has a place on the internet where people can use it as a point of reference of like, who are they listening to? Um, what do I know? Well, there's a little bit of what I know, but I have definitely, holy crap, like my recovery has changed so much in the last year. When I recorded that, I was just about to be 2 years sober, and now I've just hit 3 years sober. I was in 12-step recovery. I was active in sponsorship and in service, and I had just moved to Texas, and now um, I'm semi-active in recovery dharma, but I feel like I could be doing a lot more. Um, this last year, I don't feel like my um, actual sobriety was tested. I don't feel like there was ever a point where I was in danger of drinking, but definitely my emotional sobriety between, my mom getting cancer, um, you know, financial challenges, my trust being broken by someone, involving my dogs. There have been all of these things that have come up to where I really got tested of like, did I pour a firm foundation? Like, do I have a strong reliance on a higher power? And I mean, the answer is yes, but it was a lot easier in 12 step. It was a lot easier with a sponsor holding my hand. It was a lot easier having constant accountability and structure. But I feel like I made it through something huge by this year coming to an end and me still being sober and still being grateful and um yeah, I I still I still love my life, and I still love the fact that I don't use alcohol or drugs as a way to cope. I quit vaping this year. I did that on through the support of the Sober Bartender um, Facebook group. That was October 12th was the last time I vaped. So that's pretty cool. There have been a lot of times that I wanted to vape since then, but it's no longer an option. And sugar is still my nemesis. And I'm hoping to make that the next thing that I lovingly let go of because it's no longer serving me. It's actually making me sick. Um, so I had some other episodes that I did want to highlight. The the episode with my cousin Tony, it was titled "Fighting the Fire Within: A Male Perspective on PTSD and Late Life Divorce." And that was one of my most played episodes as well. And I think that it was something really neat. If you haven't heard that, I highly recommend you go back. It was February 1st of 2023. And I mean, he talks about, it's a male perspective, but he's talking about therapy, medication, meditation, Buddhism, Stoicism. It just, he really, it's a step-by-step how-to of how he's walked through PTSD and late life divorce. So I highly, highly recommend that you go back and listen to that. And then the second most played episode my is my dear friend Rachel Kemplin, who her episode is called "It Couldn't Happen to Me: A Cautionary Tale." And she shares her story of end stage liver disease. You know, she's she's still waiting for a liver, but she's still here and she's still fighting, and she's incredible to see. She's not an influencer, she's not a podcaster. She is a mom and a partner, and just like the person that the suburban mom that you see next door who was fighting a secret battle, and fortunately she's won the battle with alcohol, but now she's fighting to keep her life. And that's a really powerful episode that I felt I feel like I was very privileged to be able to capture her story and share it. Um, so I do recommend that people go back and listen to that. And then things in the podcast they started changing around March. April um was when I started doing some solo episodes. And that was exciting because that was when I just I wanted to take what was inside of me and I wanted to bring it to you guys. And I feel like it was successful. I will tell you, my listens went way down, but my connection went way up. Like, people did start reaching out and saying, "Thank you so much. Today's episode really helped. Today I went for a walk. Today I wrote in my journal. Today I took what you shared and I put it to practice in my life." And for me, like, that's more important than more downloads and more listens. So thank you for that. Thank you for letting me know when things did help and make a difference. Um, so I feel like it's really important to adapt and grow in our creative endeavors. So I talked about that a little bit earlier, and I do just want to highlight, like, the topics that were addressed on the Sober Bartender podcast will still be a factor on the Thought Alchemist. Um, I am not the Thought Alchemist, but I'm hoping that the podcast becomes the Thought Alchemist, the catalyst for change. And so I've talked a little bit about the reasons for the change. Um, the I recommend sobriety for anyone who feels like they may have a problem with alcohol. But the focus of the podcast will no longer be on sobriety or recovery so much as the process in changing our lives. So if that involves removing alcohol, then that will totally be applicable. But what we're going to do is take we're going to take the information and we're going to apply it to our lives and what we need. So if removing alcohol from your life is something that you need, that will absolutely apply and be covered here. Um, yeah, the process behind the need for change is really it was like an internal desire. Like I just felt like I knew that it was time for something different. And so it was, a matter of like reflecting internally and just going like, am I willing to put forth the effort in, changing this? And then what do you want? Like what do you as the listener want? What do you deserve? What is it that I want to offer you? What am I bringing you? And I feel like this change, um, it gives me the opportunity to deliver content that remains relevant, engaging, and valuable. I feel like this is my opportunity to bring you more value and more direct information. So, behind the name and the theme, like why the thought alchemist. So I have a little note. Um, in a world brimming with information, turning thoughts into actionable steps can be a formidable task. The thought alchemist is your laboratory for cultivating the mindset and skills needed to transform ideas into tangible achievements. It's a sanctuary for those hungry to decode the magic of thought and turn it into reality. So the new direction aligns with, we're turning our thoughts into reality, and that was a bit of what was, the in the Sober Bartender podcast is like, what do we want and how do we get there? And yeah, if you have any concerns, if you have any questions about this shift, I urge you to reach out. Because I am definitely learning as I go and as I grow. So if there's anything that you're hoping to hear or hoping to hear more of or less of in the next season and in this next phase of the podcast, please let me know. Um, so as far as the like what to expect, so, the alchemy of mind, we're going to uncover the ancient and modern techniques to transmute your thoughts into transformative forces. I will have guest conversations, and so I will have engaging discussions with thought leaders, innovators, and experts from various fields, sharing their insights and personal alchemical journeys. Practical strategies, actionable tips and strategies to implement oh, alchemical thinking into your daily life. Inspiration and motivation, can't not have that. Stories of triumph, resilience, and breakthroughs that will inspire you to embark on your own alchemical journey. I am so going to struggle with that word. Um, so I feel like in this evolution of the podcast, I feel like this zooms out from sobriety or from bartending. I feel like that the name kind of draws in people, maybe people that are in the service industry or just people that are curious about sobriety or bartending or, doing both. And I feel like this zooms out and is more inclusive for everyone. And I feel like that's kind of the goal is that we want to reach both sober bartenders, sober people, and just people who want to turn their thoughts into reality. Um, so I've I have not gone through and changed uh, the ways that you can contact. Like I haven't changed my Instagram profile. Um, and I haven't changed the name of the Facebook group. So I'm still not 100% sure if I'm going to change that or if I'm just going to add like a Facebook page or I don't know. I don't know. We will find out. But I encourage you, please share your thoughts and your feelings about the changes. If you're excited about this, if you're leery about this, please let me know. Um, so you can still reach me on Facebook at Brandy Kelly and on the Sober Bartender podcast Facebook group. It's called the Sober Bartender Facebook group. And then on Instagram at the Sober Bartender podcast and on YouTube at the Sober Bartender. Brain fart. Um, I'm genuinely interested in what you guys are thinking and feeling about this change, and how I can make it more pleasurable, more enjoyable, more desirable for you. Um, Your input absolutely matters. Absolutely matters. I do take it to heart. If there's anything that you want to hear, I do my best to find an expert or do research and bring that topic to light. So please, um, don't hold back on reaching out. Good majority of our topics were questions from listeners. So um, in conclusion, I am so grateful for your support and for being part of this podcast journey. Without you guys, this podcast is just me talking to myself in a room. So thank you for being here. Thank you for giving me a platform for my experience. And, thank you for listening and for encouraging and supporting me. I'm so excited. I cannot put into words how excited I am for the upcoming changes. I am excited and I am nervous. I know that there's nothing to be scared of, but I am absolutely a little bit nervous because I feel like, I don't know, it's going to be something new and different. And I don't want to put out just the same old, same old. I want to put forth maximum effort to bring you maximum value. So, yeah. I can't wait to roll that out in the new year. Um, yeah, with the new changes and there's just new opportunities. We're gonna have new guests. We're gonna have new perspectives. We're gonna have um, new strategies and just new ways of walking into the world. And I love that idea. That gets me excited. That lights me up. Um, So yeah, we've talked about the evolution of the podcast. I wanted to make sure um, that I highlighted that because you've had a huge role in shaping the future of the podcast. In the beginning, like leaned on you guys even just to name it. Like it started out, it was going to be called Growth Opportunities, and then somebody told me nobody actually wants to grow. Like, no, I mean, we do that because we have to, but nobody intentionally wants to set out on that. I do, but most people don't. And then, I brought it to you guys and you guys helped me choose the name and you guys have helped me choose, different art and just different directions on the show. And I hope that that continues to evolve and grow and expand. Um, so I invite you to subscribe, to rate and review. So if you're on Spotify, if you're on Apple, when you go to the podcast page, if you scroll down, there's a point where you can give, a certain number of stars. If you give 5 stars, that helps the podcast be seen. And then if you click write a review on either iTunes or Apple Podcasts, you write a review in there and just let people know what you think or what value you gained from the podcast. That also just helps us be seen, helps us be heard, and helps get this message to people. That is the biggest thank you that you can give, is a rate and a review. Um, I encourage you to join the Facebook group. It is called the Sober Bartender on Facebook, but that may change. It may be the Thought Alchemist podcast. So I will keep you updated. I absolutely will. And I will be putting out um, a link to get to my mailing list. And that will keep you updated because then it gives you access to the community, to the information, to the newsletter that has not started yet, but will be coming soon. And also, I started a TikTok. I have not done anything with it, but um, there will be shorts, there will be info coming to you on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram. So stay tuned for that. And I just want to thank you for your time and for your commitment. I am so excited about our future together. This is only the beginning. This is the end of year one. Um, it's been an amazing, incredible year. And thank you for being here with me for it. So, Sober Bartender out. I will talk to you next Wednesday.